All right, guys, welcome to the Digital Barbell Podcast. Thanks for being here. This is episode 2 of our Digital Barbell Business Series. If you missed episode 1, go back and listen to that because the future episodes are going to be based on kind of the outline that we went over in episode 1. The point of this business-oriented series is to take our passion for helping our clients and how we've been able to grow that into a sustainable business that provides for us and puts food in the dog bowl for our dogs, to help other coaches who want to do the same thing. Because I think you can know a lot about how to help somebody, but if you don't understand how to run a business successfully and sustainably, your career as a coach is going to be short-lived, and therefore you're not going to be able to help any people. So that's the point of this. If you have any specific questions for us, you can always reach out through Instagram. If you're enjoying this and you want more of these kinds of episodes, let us know too. It keeps us fired up to keep producing. In episode 1, we talked about 6 things that you have to do to turn your
side hustle
into a serious business. So let's just go over those 6 really quick, and then we're going to dive in deep on number 1 in this episode. First thing was get a website and a business name / entity. Number 2 was produce some lead generating content. Number 3 was nurture your tribe. Number 4 is how to navigate social media. 5 is pricing and promoting your offer. And then number 6, how to attract your dream clients. Mm-hmm. So in this episode, number 1, we're going to go a little bit deeper into the first thing, getting a website and a business name. Why does that matter? How do we do it?
Yeah.
So that's the point of this one.
Mm-hmm. So our business name is Digital Barbell.
Why don't you tell everybody really quick how we came up with that? It's kind of a funny story.
Yeah. So this is probably not the greatest advice, but I owned a CrossFit gym, and I noticed that no CrossFit gym, not no CrossFit gyms, but so many CrossFit gyms didn't really have a good website. And I knew the importance of having a website, and they didn't have good websites, or maybe they just were a redirect to Facebook, or if they did have a website, it was no information and just didn't look great. And I have a background in IT. And so I was going to start my own side hustle of making websites specifically for CrossFit gyms. And I'm sitting in a coffee shop working one day, and the name Digital Barbell came to me, and I typed it into GoDaddy.
It was available.
It was available, and I claimed it right there on the spot for like 10 or 12 bucks, whatever it was back then.
Did you say when this was? Because this was a long time ago.
This was a really long time ago.
2012, 2013 maybe?
Yeah. And then we just sat with the name. I didn't end up going down that road. And then when we were going to start our online coaching business, I was like, hey, I got something.
We were actually racking our brains for names for what is now Digital Barbell. And like we had several ideas, and then we're like, boom, what about this?
It was kind of the magic, perfect. It was something I had thought of, but it was for a different reason. It just fits perfectly for an online coaching business.
And in any business that we've ever owned, we've understood the importance of having a website. When we had a photography business, we had a website that we maintained. Our remodeling business,
Framed by Fletcher Photography.
And Blakley is a whiz at making websites, like way back when you actually had to HTML code them. Now there's other resources which we're going to get into. But why does it even matter to have a website? I mean, you can just open up an Instagram account without any cost, without any time investment. Like, isn't that enough? Like, I think that's where most people gravitate towards is social media instead of investing the time, maybe some money into having a website and trying to figure it out.
Well, I think the first reason is that you don't own social media. You can have your name like Digital Barbell on Instagram, on Facebook, and all those things, but these are companies owned by other people. And if one day they decide to change the rules or go out of business or whatever, everything about your business is gone. Mm-hmm. I was trying to think of some of these like things that we used back in the day before, like
Zanga. We had a Zanga blog. Like I poured a ton of time into a Zanga blog.
There's so many things, and
MySpace.
And MySpace. At this time, we feel like Instagram and Facebook or whatever will be around forever. But I think a decade from now we'll look back and they'll be like
something else will come along and either replace it or it'll just go away forever. And then all that time and energy you put into it. And if you built your business on it, you're really risking something without having something stable like a website that you own, that you can control. I've heard this saying before that Facebook and Instagram, they kind of own the house, like they get a lot of attention, but Google is who owns the entire block.
Yeah.
And Google only indexes websites and content on YouTube. So if you're pouring time into a social media that's not indexed by Google, basically you're making it so that the only way somebody can find you is if they stumble upon your content on social media, or if somebody sends it to them through social media.
Yeah.
But when you spend time and resources developing content for your website, Google goes out and crawls that, and somebody that's searching for your specific topic is going to find you, and they'll start to follow along, and maybe they jump to your social media from there. But social media itself is never going to be indexed by Google. And this is important because growing through referrals is probably the most important way for your business to grow when you're new. But at some point, you're going to kind of tap out your follower group, like the people who have come to know you through social and your immediate friends. And you're going to have to rely on some organic traffic coming in, which is where having something that Google can go out and index comes in. Just last week, somebody Googled how to look like you work out or something. They read
How to look like you lift.
Yeah. And they read a super long blog that I put on there 3 years ago, maybe, reached out for a phone call. We talked, and she's going to become a client because that blog was out there on Google. There was no way for her to get on Instagram and search how to look like you work out. And even if she did, what are the chances she would have come across a post and then followed, and it would have been the right post that spoke to her. So I hope that makes sense, and that you kind of wrap your brain around why social media isn't everything for connecting people to your brand.
Yeah, and that's the other thing about social media is that you, like what you said, it's not searchable, and you don't control the importance of it. Whenever we put up a blog and stuff like that, we can control where it lives on our website. We can control like how people are going to find it and everything. When you just put up a post, I mean, you can spend so much time creating a post and to put it on Facebook or Instagram, and it is like a swipe.
Yeah.
It's gone. And if they don't show it to enough people, or it gets 20 places down in your feed, someone may never see that, and you spent so much time and energy into that. So, but if this thing lived on your website, on a blog, somewhere on your website, then it's there forever.
Another thing kind of with that is like, okay, let's say somebody finds your Instagram, they start like deep scrolling, like way back in there. There could be things that you've changed your position on over time. You could have put like pricing information from
true.
3-4 years ago, and now that lives on forever, like deep in there. Not that somebody's going to do that, but just goes to show you that that's something that's out of your control. Sure, you could go back in and try
Delete
to find
those
things
posts,
but who's got time for that? When something's on your website, you control the power to update it in real time.
Yeah.
Let's say like, you have an employee that no longer have anymore. Like, you have the power to go and change that on your website, and everybody that sees it from now on has the most current information.
And in my opinion, it just legitimizes a business. Like if I go to a business and I, type them in and they have or don't have a website, I kind of form this opinion in my head of like, how legitimate is this business if they have a website or they don't? And then what does it look like?
Yeah, you judge based on how professional they probably are based on what it looks like. Like if we're talking about investing thousands of dollars over time in a coach or a program or whatever kind of business, I would hope that they're willing to invest in themselves to have a presentable website too.
One good example I just thought about as we're sitting here is we're in an RV right now, and we spend a lot of time in RV, and we go to a lot of RV parks.
Yeah.
And wow, it's you go to an RV park, you type it in their website, and sometimes they are like, look, they are just like a scrolling page of a few pictures and like a story, and you can barely read it, and then there's no information. Or you go to these websites where it's like the site picker, like so much information. And if these are the two places in the city, I'm going to book that one that I can number one book online, see tons of pictures, see reviews, like see all the amenities, like really get all the information. They've spent the time, and I feel like maybe, I don't even know the price of their place because their website is so
Right.
outdated. So I'm going to bypass them.
It was a turnoff initially, like, right. And you pretty much know what to expect based on some of these places' websites. You're like, oh boy, this is going to be this kind of place.
Yeah.
Which is usually not a good thing.
Right.
So let's kind of talk about choosing a business name, and then, because that ties into what your website is going to be, and what needs to be included on your website to make sure that it's benefiting your business in the long term.
So so this is really important if you're starting a business right now. A couple of things that we're going to talk about right now is, starting the business, choosing the business name, choosing a business name, that can be your business name, that can be an LLC, and that can also be your domain. So
It
we
takes
have
a little
to
bit of
have,
forethought.
yeah, we have to have all three things in place before we pick the name.
And this is not to be taken as legal advice. Our company is set up as an LLC at the guidance of our financial planner. So consult your own professional when choosing a legal entity, but our business is an LLC.
Yeah.
We think that it's very important for the name of your company to be your website. Like, we would not choose a business name that we could not get the .com domain for.
Yeah, not go with the .cc,
Yo mama.
.co, there's so many now, and I think like you're gonna get bypassed if you don't get the .com. People, it's like right now at least people just think of everything as being .com. So if I just say my website's Digital Barbell, they're gonna go to www.digitalbarbell.com. If it was digitalbarbell.co, they're gonna find the real digitalbarbell.com.
Yeah. And I know that some people differ on this, and we have friends who have companies that are .io and .co and .org or whatever. But our line of thinking is pick a name for your business that you can get the .com for, just to eliminate any confusion. So much of what we're going to talk about here is removing confusion, resisting the urge to try to be clever, and instead try to be clear. We definitely stole this from Donald Miller in the Story Brand. If you haven't read Building a Story Brand, it's a great business book to read for the topic that we're talking about today. But always try to be clear, not clever.
Yes.
So let's take that into choosing your business name. You might be tempted to try to get really creative and think of a business name like Strong Hearts or, Fab Bodies. But that doesn't really tell anybody what you do. Get as clear as you can to eliminate any question about what you do. Now, maybe Digital Barbell doesn't tell you exactly what we do, but we're a digital online company and we lift weights. So I think it's close enough. But just try not to be too vague. You drive past the store and you see some vague thing like Imagination Factory. You're like, I have no idea what they do. I'm just going to blast right by.
Yeah.
So be as clear as you can, as long as you can get the .com.
Right.
And you also have the choice to use your name as your brand also. I mean, there's a lot of successful online coaches that just go by whatever their name is, training or nutrition or whatever. I think this works better if you already have a large following for whatever reason. But at the base of it, like, you are pretty much building a personal brand when you have an online coaching business. So I would say it's not taboo to use your name.
Yeah, and you also have to think like long term if this is truly not just a side hustle and a serious business. I think Dave Ramsey comes to mind. He's used Dave Ramsey for the better part of 30 years, and now he's starting to use Ramsey Solutions, probably because he's like, I want to pull myself back from being like the head of this and like allow this to be my company.
Yeah.
And maybe like one day I want to retire.
Yeah.
So there's things like that to think about too if you use your name. But I think his transition was probably going to be pretty smooth.
Yeah, and it kind of like opens you up to have employees without it being weird too.
Yeah.
If this company was called Jonathan and Blakley Training, I think that might make
you
Haley
had
feel a little
another
bit weird as one of our coaches, but she's a Digital Barbell coach. And it sets us up to where if we ever grow to $100 million company and sell this sucker on Shark Tank, it's Digital Barbell. It's not Jonathan and Blakley Training that somebody else now has to rebrand.
I also think about like products and stuff too. Like,
Yeah.
do you want people to have your name across their shirt or like the name of your company? Like, what looks
That's
cool?
a good point.
What would people wear? What would they put their sticker on?
Yeah.
Things like that.
So you're going to need a name, you're going to need a website, and then you're going to need to go ahead and get some sort of business entity, because that's what you're going to need to be able to open a business banking account. Like I've talked about in other episodes when we've had him on the podcast, Justin Green can help you with this kind of stuff. If you need his contact information, let us know. But it's important to get all your financial ducks in a row and have the right structures in place to be able to run your finances through the business from the get-go. And part of that is having an LLC and a business bank account.
And the reason I said think about all three before as you're kind of creating the business, because maybe you think of a great business name and then you need to check, is the .com available? Okay, yes it is. And then is the LLC approved? You have to go through like an approval process to
Yes,
get
somebody
this
might have something that's too close to your state.
Right. So there's these three pieces out there that you need to have in place before we're like, okay, now this is the name.
Yeah. And in Texas, at least, the Secretary of State is the one who handles business entity names. It may be the same in other
Yeah.
states, but if you do some Googling,
I think when I opened my gym, like I was going through this process with and also had to check with CrossFit to make sure the name was approved because they kind of changed their rules. You can't use like cities anymore. So I named my gym after
a dude.
a dude who I won't tell the whole story, but his last name was Triad, and I wanted it to be CrossFit Triad originally. I remember, and they were like, "There is a CrossFit Triad, which was like for triathletes," and so they made me switch it to Triad CrossFit, which I ended up liking. But
Yeah.
like in my head, I was like CrossFit Triad. Like that for some reason
Yeah.
because the other gyms I had went to were like CrossFit whatever,
Yeah.
and I don't know. It took me a while to like get used to it being switched, but then it was fine. So then I had to like make sure that was in place before I got the .com, before I did all of the other things.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Maybe you can hear there's some rain hitting
Yeah.
the top of the Airstream here. That sounds kind of cool. Okay, so you got all that in place. Now you need to go get the domain. We just use GoDaddy.com for all of our domain hosting. We own way more domains than you would think. But the point is, I would try to find, and maybe you have something to say about this too, but I would try to find a company you register your domain with that also has hosting services available, just to kind of keep it under one roof, because it can get a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
Because you need both things. You need to keep your domain active, and you need to have a place to host your website.
Yeah, so the domain is just purchasing the right to www.digitalbarbell.com. You have that, but then it's not like live on the internet until you host it. So the website itself are fairly cheap. They're like I think now in like that $15 range for a year. The hosting is more like I don't even want to say a price because
It depends
it
what you
depends on what
use,
it
yeah.
gets, but closer to like that $100 or so a year. But that's where you're actually going to purchase the hosting through a company like GoDaddy to
Right.
where you get your information live on the internet.
And then once you have that, you're going to have to actually come up with a website. And this is where you have a choice whether you're going to hire a designer to design a website for you, or whether you're going to use one of these companies where it's more like template based with the drag and drop situations. We use Squarespace for our website design and upkeep. We also use it as our email service. I wouldn't say it's the best service out there for email hosting, but we get the job done with it. We may have something in here more about email stuff later, but the point is you're going to have to decide, do I want to spend money on this, or do I have the time and resources? Am I willing to learn this new skill that
Right.
basically it's going to take? I'd say the benefit, other than saving the money on learning to do it yourself, is there's always a lag when you hire somebody to do web design. You tell them what you want. You tell them an update that you want. They take
Process it, yeah.
and then they come back, and maybe it's not exactly what you wanted. Now there's a revision that goes on. So it may be like a 2-3 day
Yeah.
process. This is not even counting like designing the whole thing from the get-go, which might take months. But the point is, like, there's going to be a time delay if you're not doing this yourself through a web design company where you can edit it in real time.
I think either way, whatever your strengths are, people know their own strengths. Like, do you have the time
True.
and capacity to do this or not? But either route that you go, like if you do go with hiring somebody to initially make the website, edit, like what he was saying, it is worth spending some time to learn how to make the updates, to at least control some of the things yourself. Like you're gonna want to like add something to the website, change the price real quick, things like that. And with these website builders like Squarespace, maybe if you don't have the skills to actually design the website initially, just being in there, being able to go in there, add information is super easy, and it's worth learning.
Yeah.
And it's they even have, I think, resources on their websites that help people build websites and learn how to just do the simple little tweaks.
I'm sure there's tons of YouTube
Yeah.
tutorials too, but there's companies like Squarespace, like Wix, Shopify, things like that. There's a lot of options out there. I would say to try to find one right off the bat that does have some sort of email integration into it, so that you're not trying to learn how to do a website and also trying to learn a new third-party email system. There's companies like MailChimp that just handle email stuff, and they're super complicated. Let's not lie.
Super
Like
complicated.
we're pretty smart. We're pretty smart people.
I have a background in IT, and I choose to do our email integration stuff through Squarespace because we just looked at the MailChimp and it was like,
And it's one more
pretty
expense. It's
Yeah.
it's a monthly expense to add on, which you might not want, depending on how big your business is at this time. Okay, let's talk about things that you need to have on your website.
All right.
We're up to the point where we're building a website. again, the overarching theme is to be clear, not clever. So at the top of your website, before anybody scrolls down at all, there should be a clear message at the top that gives people a very clear idea of how you can help them and who your product is for. Our website says you work hard, you deserve results, training and nutrition that makes you look like you work out, something like that. I guess I should have looked ahead of time. So,
And our thing, I don't know if maybe it's used to us. It's from coaches that know your name.
Yeah,
So we want to
we've tried different
establish the idea that like you're going to get a coach that knows you and you're going to be talking to, not just a program that
Right.
you're going to follow with someone who doesn't even know if you exist or not.
Yeah.
So that's we just kind of try to like think about like what's a quick way to tell people what they're going to get when they go and hire a Digital Barbell.
yeah, so like if you specialize in helping perimenopausal women lose 10 pounds, it should say that before you have to scroll anywhere on your website. And then in the top right corner of your website, there should be a button that says contact us, join now, some direct call to action with a very easy to see button up in the top right corner. This is definitely something we learned from Donald Miller in his Business Made Simple book too. And I think it's true. Like I've been to many websites where you're just hunting around. Like I want to get more information from these people, but I can't find the darn way to reach out to them or like get on their email list. It's like completely, it's buried somewhere. Make it super clear, not clever. Okay. You need a page on your website that details more what it's going to be like for your client to work with you. Give them a clear picture of not only like who you are, but what you do. Try to eliminate as much doubt in their mind so that when they read through it, they self-identify and think, okay, well, this is what I'm looking for because I'm reading the things that make sense to what my goals are, the struggles that I face. So whatever your niche is, make it clear as somebody reads through that page that these services are for you. Whether you want to put your prices on there is up to you. We choose not to put our prices on our website, so I'll leave that up to you. We've never had them on there in all the time that we've been in business. I think in my mind, it turns.
I'm about to go to our website because I'm pretty sure our prices are on our website
No, they're
right
not on
now.
there. It turns your product into a commodity at that point. Like you're shopping for shoes and you're jumping from website to website to see which one is the cheapest. Honestly, we don't want clients that are shopping for the cheapest option because we're probably not the cheapest option, but we're not the most expensive option either. What are you looking at?
I really
They're
I
not on there.
remembered putting them on at some point.
Well, I probably quickly told you to remove them. But anyway, you don't want to commoditize your coaching service. If you value yourself as somebody who can truly help somebody, then you should just be going after the person that values your service. You can't turn yourself into, it'll just be a race to the bottom if you start trying to like price yourself lower and lower.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's our thoughts on that. Okay, let me read through my outline here. You got me distracted with, you're like, oh, prices are on our website. I know they're not. When you talk about your services, don't just like list out the features. Like, we use True Coach. You chat with your coach. You will see you'll click on these buttons. Like, don't focus on the features of your coaching. Speak to the outcomes that your client wants to get. That's part of them self-identifying as the person who's perfect for your, like, this is, you're not selling a car where you're like, we have power steering and power windows and brakes on all four wheels. Like, yes, we assume you're going to get all that stuff.
This is where like both of our strengths come into play because I do a lot of making the website and I easily write like that where
Yeah,
I'm
she's very
like
feature-based.
I'm very feature based. Like, okay, here's all the features you're gonna get, and then I send it over to Jonathan, and he changes all of the features into like the feelings behind what you're gonna feel, and then it ends up long winded, and then I shorten it, and then there's our information.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it flows with us. But
Get yourself a Blakley if you
it's
don't have
true.
one.
It's true that it is easier to think about. Well, here's all the features that I'm gonna offer, but like he said, people identify with like the emotions that. What's the outcomes? What are the outcomes
benefits.
going to get?
Yeah.
And you can, if you've already got clients, you get this easily by the things that your clients tell you, like what they just felt, what just happened to them, and then you're like, oh, that's what I need to have on my website.
Yeah, and those become your testimonials too. Yeah, it's like, imagine if you went to like the coaching page and it's like, you will do squats, you will do burpees, you will do mountain
and
climbers.
you will love it.
Like, okay, let me go to somebody else's website and see what they got. If you have some sort of this could be different if you're a brand new coach or you're experienced, but if you have some sort of framework or process that you step clients through, put it on this page too, so people know what they're going to get. This took us a while to figure out with our nutrition coaching, that there's this 5-step framework that we take our clients through. We gave it a name, we put it on our nutrition coaching website, and now we can reference clients to it as, here's the expectations of what I'm going to do, what you're going to do, and here's the outcome that you're going to get as we walk through this framework.
Yeah.
And I think it gives people a peace of mind that we're not just like winging it. We have a plan.
And I think, something like nutrition coaching where there might not be a clear beginning and end date, it gives people a sense of like, okay, I will start here and end here, and there is an end to this, and we want there, we want there to be an end to the nutrition coaching life with our clients, because we want them to have success, and then so it at least shows them the path.
Amen. So if you have something like that, put it on this page or a separate page. We believe that you need to have a blog on your website. Call it a blog, call it a page for articles, whatever. But this is a place where you're going to write long form content, articles. Probably took us a good, 6 months of being in business before we started doing this. We would write little short things, but then we're like, we have to start writing long form content. And this does two things.
People still do like read these things and
reference
them.
I mean, I like to go into the analytics on our website through Squarespace, and I can see like what kind of traffic our different pages are getting. And some of these blog articles that might take 15 minutes to read, people will sit on there and read the entire thing, and then they'll jump to another web page, and that just starts to build. It builds a relationship with this person that, number one, what you're talking about, and it establishes you as an expert that can help them get the result of whatever the article is about. The other great thing about this long form content is, number one, you're going to learn more than you know about a subject if you take the time to research it enough to write a coherent, deep article on something. And sometimes if there's just something that I know a little bit about, but I want to dive deeper on it, maybe a client's having a specific issue or wants to train in a certain way, I'll decide I'm going to write an article about it and learn in the process. So it benefits you to do it also. And then if you go all the way back to the beginning of this conversation with Google owning the block, all this stuff that you write on your website is now going to be indexable by Google. And when somebody has a question, boom, now you're the expert that they're going to find. You would be really surprised that our little small company, there's certain things that I've written articles on, or you've written articles on, that rank number one on Google, and we get thousands of visitors to our website. This is like competing against muscleandfitness.com, livestrong.com. Like, they have articles on this stuff too, but a really well written article that's kind of planned out to be seen by Google for SEO has a really long tail to it, and people will find your brand because of it. And it gives you a chance then to pull them over onto your social media so they can keep up with you on a more regular basis and start to see your personality that isn't really necessarily coming through in an article on insulin resistance or progressive overload. And they can see pictures of your dog and stuff like that. And also, these blog articles give you a chance to talk about your clients and something we're going to talk about in a future episode, your free content that you have developed that will help you get in touch with people through their email. Speaking of that, you need a page for anything that you've ever built that is a free resource that people can go get at any time. The point of all that is to give them a micro win, to show them that you know what you're doing, and for you to capture a way to keep in touch with them in the future. So you got to have it benefits you to have all those resources on a website. For somebody comes across your website like, oh, this guy's got like 6 to 10 free things that will help me. I'm gonna go get them.
Yeah, because you just never know what is going to speak to a person who's looking for something of value like that. That they'll download, get to know you, get to know your offering, get some results, and then end up buying from you. But we've made so many of these like free things that they start as pop-ups on our website, but they don't go to waste as we switch them out, because they live forever on this free page. And so now we're like, I don't even know, like 15 freebies deep over here that people can like go, if they're intrigued by the pop-up initially, they end up at the free page, and they can take anything that we have on that page and hopefully get some value out of it, and learned like, okay, these people actually know what they're doing, I can trust them, I like I like the results I got.
And I would make a page that talks about yourself too. You know,
Yeah.
your credentials, who you are as a person. Put some personality in there too, because at the end of the day, you know, our clients are kind of in a relationship with
Yeah.
us. Like they would quit if they didn't actually like us as people.
Yeah.
So like show people that you're a normal person and like tell them something about yourself that like, you know, they might be able to relate to. Like
Yeah.
we're not a robot. Like if you're not a fitness robot, we're not fitness robots. Like show that side of yourself on your website and in your social media, and you're much more likely to get people who aren't referrals to identify with you and
Yeah.
become clients.
Yeah, and I forget that that kind of stuff is on there sometimes, and a client will be like, "Oh, I'm also from Louisiana" or something like
Yeah.
that, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, like you know that kind of stuff is out there on the bio page, and it's good that we have it out there for people to know us a little bit better."
It's worth it to put the time into this at the beginning because
Yeah.
you won't have to constantly make changes
Right.
to your website. It's going to be a little bit of a hassle at the beginning, but it's well worth it. All right, let's recap what the main points we talked about are. Number one, you got to move information onto a platform that you own. Keep doing social media, keep doing TikTok, keep doing dances on TikTok if that's your thing. But get your information onto a website that you can control, and that will be indexed by Google. Make it clear who you are and who you serve. Remember, clear, not clever. Provide a place for people to, you know, give people some credibility. You know, show them that you know what you know
Yeah.
by writing articles, by, you know, putting any certifications, things like that that you have out there, by providing testimonials. And then provide value, like I said, that's indexed by Google. Write long form articles. I'm talking like 2,000 to 5,000 words. I mean, it might take you a week to write this thing, but it will live on forever on Google. And have a way for people to connect with you. Make sure that there's multiple places on your website for people to reach out to talk about coaching with you. Don't bury the way that they're going to actually hire you somewhere on your website.
Yeah.
Make it super clear.
Yeah.
Okay, next episode we're going to talk about producing that lead generating content. Like I said, referrals are awesome. You should get almost all of your business from referrals. We do, but you have to be having a way to bring new people, new eyeballs onto your platform so that you can help them get to know you over time. So we'll get into that next week.
Yep.
All right, y'all have a good day.
Wait, do I say end meeting for all or stop recording for? Oh.